Recently, you have written to the Secretary General-elect of United Nations, reminding about UN role and responsibility in world affairs, and also pointing out some global issues. What made you do that?
As you are well aware, we are in the midst of the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime. We have been watching videos, photographs, and also hearing stories about the sufferings that are going on throughout the world, in different parts of the world. And I felt very strongly that this is not right, that human beings are suffering and the world is remaining silent and nothing is being done to address the problems. The problems are arising from inability to prevent conflicts and to stop conflicts. And I feel very strongly that we need to be able to handle those who are responsible for doing wrong, whether they are individuals, organizations, or nations. And we should also be in a position to assist those persons, organizations, or nations to whom wrong is done. I felt that this has to be brought to the attention of those people who have been charged with this responsibility to look after the security, justice, welfare, and human rights in this world. And this is why I wrote to the United Nations Secretary General, who is a new appointment, and I have full confidence because I have met him, I have heard him, and I have felt that he has got his heart in the right place, and I thought he would be able to do a lot for humanity.
Now, you said that you met him. What actually happened? Where did you meet him?
I met him at a conference in Sharjah in UAE last year, when he was invited by the ruler of Sharjah, His Excellency Muhammad Qasimi, and that is where he spoke about the difficulties UNHCR, United Nations Humanitarian Council for Refugees, was facing. And he was able to speak openly about his difficulties. And I could see that he was able to see the problems, but he was not able to handle the solutions. And I felt that yes, this is the right person who can help humanity.
Considering the history of United Nations and the pressures on them, are you hopeful that something would be done better than previously?
If you recall that the United Nations Charter, which was actually presented on the 26th of June 1945, with the prescription to bring about justice, look after the human rights, welfare and security, and with the provision that all the members should be in a position to help to bring about peace and harmony, and not to be an aggressor, and to ensure that they help to reconcile those parties that are in conflict. That was the initial plan for the United Nations. However, this was over 70 years ago. The tools that were in place at that time are now obsolete. They are outdated. We need innovative systems. The current problems cannot be addressed with the systems that were designed at that time.
There have been many instances whereby United Nations determinations or resolutions have no real practical value when it comes to implementation. One of such resolution goes back some years, but it was about Kashmir. which, as you know, is a divide line between India and Pakistan. Now, that resolution still has been talked about, that it has not been implemented. Do you see that with the new secretary there will be more positive environment where United Nations commitment and resolutions and determinations would be honored?
What you are saying is absolutely true. Not only that particular resolution, but many more resolutions have been overlooked and have not been really executed as they were expected to be. This has been one of the biggest weaknesses, and this is where I feel, because of the experience of the new UN Secretary General, where he has been a former Prime Minister of Portugal, where he has been able to handle the affairs in a very dignified manner and also very effectively. On top of that, the 10 years he has spent as United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Chief, he has got the clout and he has got the experience and the knowledge to be able to handle the situation much better than anybody else who may not have similar experience.
There are a number of issues in the world today. If you would like him to focus on few, what those issues would be?
Mainly, the main issue is to be able to prevent and stop conflicts. That is the number one issue that has to be addressed. Secondly is there has to be security in this world where people can move about and go about their tasks and normal life without fear. Third is to be able to bring about systems in place which helps to address problems connected with illiteracy, ill health and poverty.
At the moment, I think the biggest issue which we see day in, day out is about refugees. And there have been many political moves, there have been some social liberals who would like to see a resolution of that problem. Do you see that refugee problem could be tackled in near future?
There are at this point in time 65 million forcibly displaced refugees in the world. We have to be able to see through the eyes and minds of these innocent people who through no fault of their own have had to flee from those places that they loved and those places that they knew. And when they left, they found that they had lost some of their people, their relatives, and also they found themselves in very strange environment. These refugees would much rather be in their own homes, in their own nations, without being a burden on anyone or any nation. We have to open our hearts to enable them to go back to their own homes with a guarantee for security. At the moment, what has happened is there are refugees, for example, from Syria who went to Jordan, who went to Lebanon, to Turkey and Iraq. Those refugees have become a liability to the host country and cause antagonism within the citizens of the host nations. Some of those refugees have ventured forwards at the risk to their lives and to the risk to the lives of their families and reached even European waters and European lands where there has been so much of antagonism and unfavorable response. The refugees have been generated, and they are generated by the thousands daily. These refugees are generated as a consequence of conflicts. The conflicts result from numerous reasons. One of them is on the part of some countries, to try and achieve more land or oil or minerals. In some countries, is a part of trying to combat insecurity of their own nations. Then there is a possibility of tribal differences. Then there is a possibility of religious differences. Then there is another cause that may be political power. Then there is a possibility of conflict through economic conditions where there is a lot of poverty. So there are several reasons why conflicts occur, and that leads to the generation of refugees. Those nations which are responsible for bringing about conflicts and which result in human carnage on a scale unknown before, they need to be discussed with. They need to have some understanding of what exactly they are doing and whether it is right what they are doing.
One of the things which, coming back to home, Britain, one of the things which we see that during the process of EU referendum, there has been an atmosphere of fear, of scaremongering, of a very negative feeling towards issues like refugees. What do you think we in Britain can do to have better climate where situations like refugees could be well understood and accepted?
We need to first and foremost ensure that we help the indigenous population, the residents of UK, to be able to feel comfortable in terms of economic achievements. At the moment, because of various austerity measures and different aspects of economics, a lot of people felt that they are economically much more behind than they should be. They have lost out. So there is that bit of anger towards society in general and the government in particular. So we need to improve the economic conditions of the indigenous population. Secondly, we need to bring about an understanding of intercultural values and the need to respect other cultures, religions and races, and to bring about that harmony so that they do not feel that the refugees are a burden, but they feel as if it is their duty to be able to help those who are in difficulties. Thirdly, we need to explain to the indigenous population the exact causes and the reasons why these refugees have been generated. They are ordinary people, very respected in their society where they come from. They are well off. They don't want to be in other people's countries. So this particular element has to be explained and impressed upon the indigenous population so that their response towards the refugees coming into the country is more from a positive angle rather than a negative angle, which is actually the case at the moment.